Max Scherzer is headed to the Texas Rangers. With all the closers being traded, who are the new closers in town? Join us today where we provide you with the best must-add candidates from this weekend on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane. And you could find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit the little bell below. It subscribes to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on Subtext. It's a one-on-one personalized in-depth texting app where you get instant alerts on call-ups, prospects, injury updates, trades, and much, much more than we could fit on this 30-minute episode. But guys, let's get into this one. We have a fully loaded episode for you. As always, let us be your team secret weapon, where we provide you with the best must-add players from this weekend. And real quick, before we get into the must-adds, two things that I want to mention off the top. First one is a big shout out to Taylor Ward. Man, that was an unfortunate incident where he got hit in the head, and we hate to see that here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball. We wish Taylor Ward, the Angels, and his family and friends the best with that one. But let's get into things here because we always got to keep things moving. Max Scherzer has been traded to the Texas Rangers. Big trade. They also acquired Jordan Montgomery. So, Matt, why don't we hop in with a little analysis here first?
Yeah, I mean, I love the upside for both of these guys, truthfully. I mean, quite honestly, I know that Scherzer was unhappy. I think I saw a little rumor that he was going to ask to be traded at the deadline. So, I mean, how we couldn't see this happening is just like baffling. But the fact that he went to the Rangers of all places has some serious, serious fantasy implications. If you're a Scherzer owner, Lord have mercy, you're going to have a bajillion wins now. He's going to be so valuable, because I think he's going to have a new motivation. I don't think the motivation was good with the Mets. I think that, quite honestly, it could speak to what was going on in his head and why he wasn't the Scherzer ace that we've known for a while. Now, the other thing is, too, you could also probably capitalize on this if you don't feel confident in the fact that he will bounce back and maybe he's just going to be mediocre like he has on the Mets and it's just going to be, an equal move, which then therefore you could probably sell high on Scherzer. It's just a matter of preference and what position you're in. So, like, for instance, if you're in a position where you need to make the playoffs and you could dump on the Scherzer hype right now, I probably would consider moving Scherzer before his first start, which honestly you probably get a haul for with the hype of the Rangers, the hype of what Scherzer's possibility can be now that he's in a new position. He might have that new re-enticing, which is everything I just said earlier in my take. So there's two ways you can handle it. It's either trade and sell high on the hype or hold on and just wait for the fantasy glory. But there's no guarantee on that, regardless of the fact, but I personally feel there is. Now, the Jordan Montgomery situation, I'm loving too. I think that takes him up to the next level because, quite honestly, on St. Louis, he wasn't a lot of win opportunity. I feel he was having a really good year. St. Louis was incredibly disappointing, and I think Montgomery now gets to step up. If he's able to go there and dominate, which I think he will, next year we're going to be talking about this kid as a top 25 arm. Like, I love Montgomery for next year, especially if he's going to have a long-term situation with the Rangers and what they're looking to do over the next decade, it looks like.
Yeah, man, I'll jump in there. I'll chime in on Montgomery. I think Montgomery's been a lot better of late. He started off the year a bit rough, but over the last 30 days, Montgomery has pitched 29 innings, 23 Ks, a win, 3.10 ERA, and a 1.17 WHIP. And it's a lot better than his overall season numbers. And actually, the ERA has come down a lot. It's down to a 3.42 on the season, 1.25 WHIP, 121 innings, 6 wins, 108 Ks. Matt's right in the sense the wins will definitely move up there for Montgomery. And it's funny because when he got traded last year, I believe it was around the trade deadline again, he really had a pretty strong stretch there for the St. Louis Cardinals. Last year, after the trade over to St. Louis, he had 11 starts, 3.11 ERA, 63 innings, 61 Ks with a 1.08 WHIP. So, maybe the Texas Rangers grab a hold of him. He gets a renewed source of, energy pitching for, championship contender. And I like Montgomery. He's still only 82% owned on Yahoo. If by some weird chance he's available in your league, I think you give him the shot. Let's move on to Scherzer. Matt, great take on Scherzer. I don't know how optimistic you were in the long run. I'm not super optimistic about Scherzer here. I think the Ks are still going to be plus. Maybe a little bit more opportunities for wins. But, his velocity is down literally on all of his pitches besides the cutter. No, the cutter's actually down too. Yeah, no, literally all his pitches are down. Oh no, it was everything's down. So with that being said, I mean, what is he, 38 years old now, almost 40 years old here for Max Scherzer. At some point, Father Time beats everybody. It took out Nolan Ryan. It takes out everybody at some point. And I think we're seeing it here from Scherzer. I don't know if we're talking about him as high next year when it comes to fantasy. So with that being said, I don't think there's much actionable on here, but I do like my brother Matt said. If you could trade him right now before your trade deadline too, give him a little flip for something better. Sell the Texas Ranger angle there. I think you could do all right. But let's get into the official the episode here with the must add stuff. And let's talk about somebody that's a little bit of a newly guy here to this year, Cristopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. Haven't really heard about him too much, but besides he's been on fire this year so far. 42 innings, 38 Ks, a 2.98 ERA, and a 0.97 WHIP. And those numbers actually are going to even look better after today's start against Pittsburgh. 5 innings, no earned, 3 Ks, a 0.4 WHIP. Cristopher Sanchez is 39% rostered on Yahoo. Probably one of my favorite guys to add, heading into week 17 here. Not too familiar with Sanchez, but as I said, the numbers look pretty good so far. And I believe he gets the Royals up next weekend. Everybody's taking advantage of these lowly Royals right now. So Cristopher Sanchez, go ahead, give the kid an ad and just rock with it, see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just watch out for big body Bobby Witt, who's just been smoking the ball this week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the only obstacle in that lineup, though, so I still feel comfortable rolling out. Great take, Dom. But let's move on. Let's talk about an ex-Philly, and let's talk about Nick Pivetta. I guess this is ex-Philly pitcher year because between him and Eflin, you're starting to see a nice bounce back. But it's funny, though. So I actually always been a Pivetta guy. I liked Pivetta when he was coming up through the system. I liked him when he was on the Phillies. The kid could just never stay on the field. And he could just never get his stuff together. And that was always my issue with Pivetta. He'd have a bunch of moments of genius and then take an absolute dump within one inning. He's like, Aaron Nola, where he'd have, but all his bad starts at once. He'd have like 4 innings of genius and then get blown up for like 6-7 runs and just call it a day. That was always Pivetta's issue. It would always be like one too many times through the rotation. But he's been hot this last month. He's like a ride the wave. I don't know what like the long-term aspect of this kid is. He's a 4.11 ERA on the season, but this last month is a 1.29. Like, how you doing? With 21 innings pitched to 33 Ks. Like, he's looking like a monster right now. I say you roll him out. Boston looking like they're doing all right. He had a 13K game against Oakland too. His next start is going to be against Seattle, who's been like up and down right now. So I kind of feel like, okay, let me roll out Pivetta while I still can and snag him. And then he has another really great start. I think we see where it goes, but we'll see what Pivetta's long-term value is soon.
Before I hop in here and talk about Pivetta, we talk about somebody that we've been in love with all year, and he's finally starting to live up to the hype a little bit. And we talk about the new closers in town, and that's the one you're going to want to stick around for. It's useful information at this time of year when there's a mover in the closer arena, and there's room to pick up some guys that can be very, very good closers for your team. Just got to talk about one of our ad partners here, and of course, it's FanDuel. Here at Locked On, we're super excited about our new sports betting partner, FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right, just $20, and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting on everything from the money line to the over-under and who you think is going to hit the first home run in any given game. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on the MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing the Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only get to contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamond Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. All right, Matt, let me hop back in and give my little take here on Nick Pivetta. What's up, brother?
You forgot to mention the coveted spot.
I always forget. Matt, you know what? Why don't you take it? You want to explain it to everybody?
Yeah, so if you sign up over the next month, literally you have a month to go. At the end of August, pretty much first week of September, we're going to announce our who's going to get the Listener League first spot of the year for next year in 2024. If you sign up for the Diamond Club, you will have an entry in it. We'll see you on there. We'll be communicating. You'll be getting all the wonderful stuff anyway. And then once I'm going to say, Dom, let's put a hard date on it. The second show of September.
Sounds good.
Right. We're going to announce who's going to get the shot. So hop on in, join the Diamond Club, see how you like it, hang in there, and we'll announce soon. So, if you want that spot in that Listener League, join up.
Yeah, just a shout out to everyone that's already in there, man. We've been enjoying the experience. And you're also, if you're already signed up, you're also entered for that spot in the league. And guys, come on, join up and show us that you're better at fantasy baseball than us. We're up for the challenge, and we're ready to see where things go next year with this league with all of you guys. So we're back into it. Let's talk about Nick Pivetta again real quick. And it's been just interesting how Boston's been using him. They kind of been using him after an opener. So he wasn't really starting the games, but it looks like he's going back to the starting rotation today as you're listening to it, which is going to be Monday against Seattle. Seattle's a good opponent. They're striking out a lot. Pivetta's been striking out a lot of guys this year in 81 innings, 100 Ks, a 1.17 whip, 4.11 ERA, and the ERA has been a lot better of late. So the numbers do look pretty good. I don't know if he's figured something out at 30 years old. It's definitely possible. As Matt and I always say with pitching, it's more of a chess match. The older you get, maybe the velocity goes down, but you get smarter as a pitcher. You learn your pitch mix better. You learn what works for you. Pivetta at 34% owned, you could do worse. And I think that second start is going to be against Toronto, a little bit more of a challenge, but it's in a interdivision matchup where at this point in the year you got to start beating those opponents to move up and get that playoff chance up. And who knows, maybe Pivetta will be up to the challenge. I think there is a lot of upside here with the strikeouts. So Pivetta at 34% owned, definitely worth an ad to see where things go with the 2 starts this week. Let's move on to our next guy, and it's Reid Detmers. As we always like to say, the meter is running. He's been pretty solid, over the last little bit here. He hasn't been really blowing you away. The ERA has been kind of high, but what, the strikeouts are there, and there's just so much potential with Detmers. His last 2 starts have been decent. Last 3 out of his 5 have been serviceable. So I think. And then even if you go back even further than that, honestly, he's been, let me see if I can do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of his last 9 have actually been very good. So if you look at his last 9 starts, he's been trending in the right direction here. He's still only 55% rostered. I'm willing to take the chance on him. Let's see, who does that next start line up against for Detmers? I think it's a good opponent from what I remember looking at earlier today, Seattle, which is a very good matchup for him. You go out there, in a matchup like that, I wouldn't be surprised if you see like 10 plus Ks for Detmers, and it looks like the one after that's going to be at San Francisco. So that's 2 nice starts for the Demeter up for his next 2. Like I said, 55% owned. I definitely like Reid Detmers a lot. Definitely worth the ad.
Yeah, and I'm always a big fan of getting the meter running, so go for it. Great take, Dom. Let's move on. Let's talk about a closer here. Let's talk about Mr. Giovanni Gallegos. My guy looks like with Jordan Hicks leaving and moving on to the Toronto Blue Jays, which kills my pickup this week of Mr. Yimmy. Very, very disappointed because I also lost Jordan Romano this week. But anyway, Gallegos looks like he's going to be the guy slotting in to go and pick up the saves opportunities for now. When Helsley did go down, Gallegos was the first one up until Hicks stepped up and took the role. So Gallegos looks like he's going to be back in the position to have the job until he pretty much loses himself or until Helsley comes back and then ultimately steals the job away. But it's not going to be an instant take because Helsley obviously did not have a great start on the year, and I don't know how much it's playing into the injury, but quite honestly, they're going to have Gallegos with a long leash, I think, since nobody else is really there. So between Gallegos until Helsley, we'll see how this pans out. But I think Gallegos 100% is worth an ad right now.
Yeah, Matt, we're on the same page here with Gallegos. Definitely worth the. I don't know with Helsley, too, though. I think Helsley is going to be out for a while from what I saw anyway. Last 2 years for Gallegos, 14 save both years, low ERA, very low 3 ERA. Over a K per 9 both of those years. The whip very solid both of those years. His career whip is a 0.96. Career ERA is a 3.15. I think he likes the closer gig more than not being in it. Over his career, been better as a closer than not. 42% rostered here. It's a very, very, very nice pickup here at closer this time of the year. You usually don't see stuff like that. When it comes to the trade deadline, yeah, but very, seldom this late in the year. You can go out and get yourself, a potential top 15 closer with Gallegos. I think it's kind of a must-add situation, even if you have a good closer already. Definitely just add them, because you're not going to get another opportunity like this. Let's move on to another guy that it looks like he's stepping into the closer's role. David Robertson moves on from the New York Mets. And it looks like it's Adam Ottavino's job next. On the season, Ottavino, 42 innings, 6 saves already, 39 Ks, 3.40 ERA, 1.18 whip. Me personally, I would take Gallegos over Ottavino if you have the pick of both. But with Gallegos being a little bit more rostered than Ottavino at 31% on Yahoo, he's eligible. He's out there in more leagues. So if you can't get Gallegos, go out there and get Ottavino and feel pretty good. Even though Buck Showalter said that he's not naming a closer, Ottavino has the most closing experience in that bullpen, and he's been the best at it out of all of them. So I think personally he's worth the ad as well. Two very, very good closer options here coming into the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see Ottavino actually have a closing role for longer than 2 seconds and just see what he can actually do with it. Because it's funny, though. You ever notice Ottavino is always brought in for a boatload of money as the closer and then ends up as a setup man every single time? It's so weird. But yet, he has all the potential to be a good closer. So, hey, he's definitely worth a pickup right now. Obviously, in Dynasty Leagues, this is a 1-year rental because obviously Diaz is going to come back. But for this year, I'm definitely trying to scoop up Ottavino and help me push my way through the playoffs. But let's move on. Let's talk about Mr. Sal Frelick. He's Frelicking everything. Right now he's batting about 250 over the last week, 7 runs, a bomb, 2 ribs. Looking real good. Through 19 at-bats on the season period. He looks like he's coming up and just making a statement with the Brewers. Let's see how long this lasts. He's kind of like a ride the wave and see what happens. He may have long-term, what do you call it? Long-term value, but we'll see. I don't know how much I'm buying into this performance. And we'll just kind of go from there with Frelick.
Yeah, man, I actually like Frelick. I think he's going to be, serviceable the rest of the way. maybe not like a league-winning pickup, but he's definitely going to be, somebody that helps you, ride through the playoffs and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to wind up dropping him. I think he's going to be a staple through the rest of the season. The powers are right. He's not a big guy, but you know what? Maybe he puts on a couple more pounds, grows into that power eventually. He's got good speed, had 24 steals in 119 games in the minors last year. So with Frelick, and he's always been a good batting average guy, always been a pretty strong batting average guy in the minors. So definitely somebody I'm looking forward to, holding on to, seeing where this goes. 41% owned on Yahoo, and he's been batting cleanup, I believe, for this, Brewers team, which is pretty good. So with Frelick, definitely give him an ad, see where this thing goes. I don't know why he's still so lowly owned. But before we move on and talk about, I just gotta say it, Ozuna from the Braves. I don't. If you know with that reference. We got somebody that's coming back, and he's one of our favorite nickname kind of guys. It's Mr. Steal Girl. So if you know who that is, we're going to be talking about. And then we got a couple of more guys here, towards the end of this show. But first, a quick break. And all right, guys, thank you for hanging on with us throughout that break there. And let's talk about Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna just kind of been a little bit serviceable all year. He kind of hasn't have great numbers, but with 21 home runs, 48 RBIs, 44 runs, 235 batting average isn't really helping you too much. He's been hot again of late over his last, 3 games. He's got in his last 3 games, it's 5 home runs, 6 RBIs, 7 runs, a bunch of hits overall. So he's heating up. Ozuna is one of those guys you just ride the wave with this year, on and off of most waiver wires at 33% owned, and he's down 9% over the last day or last couple of days. So, Ozuna, just ride the wave with him. He's going to hit a bunch of home runs for you, then he's going to cool off again, and, just see where the thing goes with Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, the dirtbag will be good for a short period of time and then go from there. You can't tell I hate Ozuna as a person. So yeah, anyway, pick him up for now and just, let him do damage while he can and let him have some value in anybody's life at some point. But let's move on. I have a really great nickname for him, but I can't because it's got to keep it family friendly. If you want to find out, hit me up on Subtext. I'll tell you it's terrible. But let's go. Let's talk about Mr. Steal Your Girl, and that's Mr. Jon Berti. 22% owned. He'll steal everything under the sun everything under the sun and your girl. It's actually pretty bad. He already has like 11 stolen bases on the year, which honestly, I'm actually surprised it's not more. Because last year he had 41. So, I mean, we could have liftoff at any point in time where he just decides to steal every base under the sun. He's having a nice little run with like 4 runs and 2 ribs, batting 353. Like, he literally hits all my favorite things off the waiver wire. Obviously, batting average, because he's hitting about 295 on the year, which is phenomenal. When last year he was hitting about 240. So I don't know if the batting average sticks, but right now the batting average rule is real, plus the stolen base upside. And I'm still waiting to hear if Miami's going to bring in a big bat. And if they bring in a big bat, Jon Berti's value just gets brought up another tick, because now the run opportunity is going to be really high. So Berti has a lot of opportunity to just, be a lot better than what we're thinking right now, especially if there's a big body bat in that lineup outside of Soler. So let's just see what happens. I would scoop up Berti, even as speculative, to see what can help him become more fantasy relevant down the stretch.
Yeah, I love Jon Berti. As we mentioned, the 41 steals last year led the MLB. So, he's definitely capable of stealing everything under the sun, as Matt mentioned. And he's been playing a lot more recently. He really didn't have a lot of playing time at the beginning of the season. He's played that last 8 games straight for Miami. And you know what? He's been hitting in weird spots. If he hits 9th, I love it. He's hit anywhere. He's hit 9th, 6th, 7th, 4th, and 5th over the last 8 games. So they've been moving him all around the lineup. I like it when he's either hitting 9th, so the top of the lineup rolls over and can drive him in. Or, I think that's really the best spot for him is pretty much 9th, unless they're going to hit him leadoff, which I don't think they're going to do. But 39 runs, 295 batting average, 11 steals, on the season is very good numbers. Berti, 22% owned on Yahoo, plays second, third, short, and outfield. You got to love the Swiss Army knife aspect of him. So with Jon Berti, definitely a solid ad for right now. Let's move on to a Colorado Rocky. Let's talk about Randal Grichuk. I love Grichuk, and I've talked about him plenty of times. I know we did a crossover episode with Locked on Rockies. Check that one out. It was a great episode. I talked about Grichuk, and I just think he's good. I think he's a pretty good baseball player on the year. 40 runs, 8 homers, 27 RBIs, 2 steals, 312 batting average. Only 18% owned on Yahoo. That's a shame. He's been hitting third and fourth for pretty much the whole season here for the Rockies. He's been on fire of late. He went 3 for 4 on the 29th. He went 3 for 5 on the 24th, 2 for 4 on the 23rd. He's hit for 3 home runs over his last few games, bunch of RBIs, bunch of runs. So with Grichuk, just get him on your team, especially in those deeper leagues. I don't know why he's 18% owned. He's like a guy who should be 40, 50% owned at the moment.
Yeah, I like your take, Dom. I mean, you kind of called what he was going to do, funny enough, on that episode.
He's pretty good.
That was like 2 months ago, too. So great job on you.
Thank you, sir.
He definitely is a sneaky play. Especially with outfield landscape right now, too. Funny enough, guys are slumping right now, so it might be a great time to go and scoop him up and ride his wave until those guys start bouncing back. So, great job. All right, let's move on to our last guy here. Let's talk about Mr. Wilmer Flores. Flores had a nice week. Had a nice 2 weeks, honestly. I got to say, over 40 at bats. He had 9 runs, 5 bombs, 9 ribs, and batting 400. Last week was 3-1-2. 348 batting average rule. He's also getting the counting stats. San Francisco Giants still can make a play to get another big body bat in their lineup too. Let's see what happens. Let's see what they can do. But Flores is providing some fantasy value. And if they bring another big name in there, Flores may benefit from it. So a lot of stuff is just enticing right now, especially with these guys that are riding the hot hands. I'm going to tell you right now, Flores has probably no long-term value, but in the short, if they bring somebody in, it just makes him a little bit more value on my point as somebody that might be able to give you a surge for next week.
Yeah, I think we kind of know who Wilmer Flores is at this point in his career. He's played over 1,000 games. He's had over almost 3,500 at-bats in his career. Not really much power, not really much in any category where he's helping. He's a 264 career batting average, which isn't atrocious, but it's not bad. He doesn't really steal bases. He's eligible at first, second, and third on Yahoo, which is nice. But with Wilmer Flores this year, when the MLB trading deadline comes up, your trading deadline in your league is probably right around the corner as well. This is a great guy that you throw in at the end of the trade, and you act like you're spicing the trade up. Like, yeah, you know what? I'll throw Wilmer Flores in for you too. And then, the person sees that, he's hitting 297 on the season, and he's got first, second, and third eligibility. You might get some people excited with that. Sneak him into a trade, use him as a little, spiciness in that trade, and you can, maybe put things over the top for you. But, Matt, unless you got anything else to add here, brother, I think we're going to head out.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you to our everydayers and new listeners. We appreciate you all, especially this time of year when you're still locked on with us. You're still trying to win that everydayers championship, especially our subtext members too. Those guys are really, really committed, and they really want that leg up on their competition. And you know what? Just be able to talk baseball with us 24/7. It's been fantastic as well. And guys, just make sure you lock on for a new episode tomorrow. We're going to be talking about must trade guys, guys to trade away, guys to trade for. And with your trade deadline, right here, this is the time you want to lock in on those episodes. So guys, until tomorrow.
Peace.
See you.